Hey, everyone. What is going on? Lauren Sisler here with AL.com. We are cruising into week 5 of the SEC college football season, week 8 for those of you who are counting the big football season. The Big Ten starts today. It's raining outside if you're in Birmingham, but it's game day, and I'm excited about it. So we're gonna preview the Auburn Ole Miss game. Matt Scalisi joining me to chat a little bit about the excitement heading into today. Obviously, Auburn coming off a loss to South Carolina. So just kind of getting into the rebound mode. What does Auburn need to do to get a rebound win against against Ole Miss coming off the South Carolina loss? And Matt, we'll just start there. The thing that you're most excited to see today from Auburn is what?
Well, I'm excited to see, like you said, the pattern for Auburn, even in years that are frustrating to Auburn fans, is after they lose their way, early mid-season, they find a way to bounce back. Gus Malzahn teams do not – we don't have any evidence of a season where Auburn just totally collapses and gives up under Gus Malzahn. That's not the way it happens under his leadership. So I'm waiting on that bounce back to happen. I think today is a great opportunity for it to happen. Auburn's woes so far, their frustrations, their struggles so far are almost all on the offensive side of the football. If I was a college football doctor and I needed to write a prescription for a struggling offense, I'm writing you one dose of Ole Miss defense. That is the cure for what ails your offense. This is not a good defense. One of the worst in college football that we've seen this year.
Defense that we've been accustomed to.
These ain't the land sharks, man. These some guppies out there, unfortunately, and they're missing a key starter. We found out this morning. One of the starting safeties, Jalen Jones, is out, possibly for the rest of the season, which is a tough blow for him and for Ole Miss. But definitely a lot of opportunities for Auburn. I think that this is going to maybe it won't necessarily teach Auburn all that much about how to fix what's wrong with their offense, but it's going to make everything flow a little more smoothly today because Ole Miss's talent on the defensive side of the ball is just not at the same level of what Auburn has been facing so far this season.
Yeah, and so, of course, the Jones injury, a concern, an upper body injury that could keep him out for the season. So I know that certainly is not good news for Ole Miss. And then, some other issues regarding COVID. At this point, I don't know if we've seen, a final lineup, final roster. A lot of the times these coaches aren't releasing that, obviously, until game time. And so you won't really know until the broadcast happens if there's any other key players and starters that are out because of COVID. But Ole Miss, I know, had been challenged with that in recent weeks, these last couple of weeks, dealing with those issues. And so it's worth noting, obviously, Ole Miss coming off the loss to Arkansas a week ago, losing to them 33-21. So, to me, Matt, obviously this Arkansas team, we were talking about it before we started this broadcast. I don't think the Arkansas team is nearly as bad as anybody initially thought they were coming to the season. I think that they've definitely picked up some pace, obviously are having some success. We saw what they did against Auburn a couple of weeks ago. And, I think we'll see more of that. So, I don't know how much of a barometer that is, but 2 weeks ago, we see this track meet that Ole Miss had against Auburn. And then
against Alabama. Yeah.
I'm sorry, against Alabama. And then all of a sudden, here we are 2 weeks later, a totally different scenario. So I think the offense is going to have an opportunity. If there is a game, like you said, that Auburn can jump back in this one and obviously, try to get some success, getting back to that identity that Gus Malzahn has talked about, running the football first and then taking some pressure off of Bo Nix. I think really if they can run the football successfully, they can take some of that pressure off of Bo Nix. And last week against South Carolina in that loss, we just saw a Bo Nix that was very, frustrated, a little out of sorts. Communication was not good. He was forcing throws. I think just trying to make big plays and that just weren't there. And so I'm definitely excited to see this Auburn offense rebound. So on the other side of the football, biggest challenge that Ole Miss poses, obviously, as I said, coming off that loss to Arkansas, biggest challenge. And I think obviously you got to start with your quarterback, Matt Corral, averaging 335 yards per game. So the pass defense is going to be key for this Auburn football team. They've got weapons. They've got guys that can move the ball down the field. And Matt Corral, obviously, one of the best quarterbacks right now in terms of his percentages in the SEC. So that to me is probably going to be the biggest challenge that Ole Miss poses, and this defense is really going to have to show up.
Definitely. The look, I would say don't be fooled by what you saw last week against Arkansas. I think that even though Arkansas is a good defense and they're improving and they're not getting as much credit as they deserve as a team this year in the SEC, I don't think you can count on Matt Corral to throw 6 interceptions again. I think that was probably the worst day of his career. I don't know that you're going to see him do that again. And I think on top of it, I think that Ole Miss was also, as you mentioned, heavily hit by COVID last week. They had a lot of guys playing out of their natural position because they just needed to fill holes. They didn't have enough bodies to put out there on the field. So this is a different situation. This is a healthier Ole Miss team overall. I think that they're going to probably regain some of their composure from what happened last week. But that said, Arkansas may have provided a bit of a blueprint for Auburn's defense in terms of what to go after today. We see that Matt Corral can make mistakes if you force him to do so. So I do think you're going to see Auburn be really aggressive and attack Corral in the backfield. That's going to create some opportunities for big gains that could happen. But I think Auburn has a very disciplined defense. I think they've played really sound football this whole season. But look, this is a very, very tough team to shut out. This is not a team you can expect to just totally keep off the scoreboard all night. So I do think that Auburn's offense needs to take advantage of their opportunities that they get. Because Ole Miss is going to score. They're going to frustrate you. They're going to give you a little bit of a headache whenever you have to play this team. So, I think that's another key part of this for me is, not necessarily can Auburn's defense get stops. It's can you keep yourself from getting frustrated? Can you keep yourself from being driven crazy by Lane Kiffin? Because that's what he does. He knows what frustrates opposing teams, and he likes to pick on it. He's really good at that. He's an annoying genius of an offensive play caller. So I would say that's kind of the fun part about this matchup today is these are two really good offensive minds at head coach going after each other. They're as good as anybody in college football at identifying their opponent's weaknesses and picking on them.
I love that. I think that's great. And that leads us into the final question that I have and leads us into it nicely. Bold prediction. And I'll go first, Matt. I do think, again, as we talked about off the top of the show, is that this is going to be an opportunity for Auburn's offense to bounce back. And I do think that we're going to see, hopefully less mistakes. And from Bo Nix, I have confidence that this is going to be a game where he's going to come back in. And I know Gus Malzahn talked about it this week, that he felt like the team was playing with more determination and just, focusing in. And, I don't know if that's coach speak, so to speak. But with that being said, my bold prediction is I think Bo Nix is going to have a much better day, and he's going to play mistake-free football. And I think we're going to see, a much more poised Bo Nix and no mistakes. I'm saying no interceptions for Bo Nix today.
That would definitely be a pleasant surprise, I think, after what we've seen the last few weeks. I'm actually going to go on the other end of the spectrum offensively, and I think that even though there will be opportunities for Bo Nix today, and I'd like to see him play a little bit more efficiently. Let's see that completion percentage start to creep up a little bit from where it's at, which is not great right now. I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby for my bold prediction today, and I'm going to say that Auburn feeds him. I'm going to say he gets 25 carries today, which is what we have not seen nearly enough of Auburn committing to the run. I think you can do it against Ole Miss's defense, and I think it's relatively low risk. I think you should be able to get yards on first and second down against this defense on the ground. And I think Tank Bigsby's the kind of running back that if you give him lots of opportunities and reps and let Auburn's offensive line, which we know has struggled a little bit, but they're still big, talented guys, let them wear down Ole Miss over the course of the game. And I think as the game goes on, Tank Bigsby's the kind of back that you'll start to see. Maybe it starts out 2 and 3 yards per run, But if you keep feeding him, we get into the fourth quarter, he's the kind of guy that will start to rip off those big runs as the defense gets tired late in the game. And I think we're going to see more of that from Auburn today. It's the smart way to do it against a defense that's not really that great and that aggressive. Wear them out, keep the ball away from their offense, and control the game. I think that's the way you play against a chaotic team like Ole Miss. You keep the ball out of their hands and you keep it in the hands of your running back.
Wear them down.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see today. We'll see. You know, Gus surprises us all the time, but that's my prediction for how they're going to.
Oop, I think I froze here. Can you guys still hear me? Matt froze, or I froze. Someone froze. All right. We're hopping off, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to our pregame show. We will catch you on the other end to recap Auburn's big matchup with Ole Miss.